turnovers, ejections, and arguments. Unfortunately, this could sum up Draymond Green's entire season so far, because whilst we are used to seeing Draymond get ejected, we've seen him throw some turnovers in the past. But you know things are bad when your coach says this after the game.
Would you, he didn't play the last 20 minutes. Would you have gone back to him?
No, he wasn't going back in.
The Warriors don't have a choice. They need to win every single game right now. And Draymond Green was so out of line with what he said that Steve Kerr decided he's not coming back into the game no matter what. And you know what this tells me? It tells me something that I think we all know. This is not the first time Draymond Green and Steve Kerr have had an argument. I'm sure Draymond has said out-of-line things to coaches, players, and anyone willing to hear it for the last 15 years. But there is one big difference right now. The Warriors don't need Draymond Green. Draymond Green needs the Warriors. Because when you have more fouls and turnovers than field goals, when you are shooting 40% from the field and 30% from three, and you are no longer the best defender in the world, you can't just say whatever you want. Because we all know what Draymond Green has meant to this team. He was untradeable for a reason. The defense, the chemistry with Steph. I stand by, they do not win those championships without Draymond Green. What he did was invaluable and might never be replicated by someone his size. He is a legend. Let me get that clear. Even over the last few years where he has regressed, he's still been one of the best defenders in the league, and as a result, the Warriors have had top defenses most of those years. Draymond just isn't at that level anymore on either end of the floor. He's not washed or terrible, but it is Steph Curry, it is Jimmy Butler, and then it's everyone else. All respect to Draymond, but this is just the reality right now. And when you're a part of that everyone else group, you can't be doing things like this every other night. Because it's not only getting into an argument with Steve Kerr, but just 2 nights before, we'd seen him get ejected for going after Colin Gillespie. And honestly, this kind of annoyed me. And I'm sure it annoyed a lot of you as well. Because we saw what Dillon Brooks did to Steph Curry just a couple of nights previously.
Steph is hurt, man. Steph is down. Let's take a look at it. This is what happened afterwards. Dillon Brooks coming at you. Anything can happen.
Right there.
Yeah, right there. Yeah, Dillon Brooks got him.
That's a hostile act right there.
Yeah.
Draymond had the opportunity just a couple of nights later to then give it back to Dillon Brooks. You have a perfect target right there. Someone who has literally targeted your franchise player and the face of the organization. You know what Draymond does? No, instead of going after Dillon Brooks, he goes after 6'1" Colin Gillespie.
I didn't even get under his skin. He said something to me, and I said something back to him. I didn't really get under his skin. I just said what he said back to me, and that was it. And then he freaked out.
Draymond Green can go after Jose Alvarado, for all I care. But it just makes you look soft if you pick on the smallest guy on the floor when some guy was targeting your franchise player just 2 nights before, and you ignore him. And unfortunately, there are some similarities between how things ended with Klay Thompson on the Warriors and how things have looked with Draymond this season. Because we all know what they once were and the impact and the role they had on the team. And for Klay, when he was moved to the bench and he got less touches, you saw it really hurt him because of what he had been for this franchise. Draymond hasn't been moved to the bench, but similar to Klay, you can tell Draymond hasn't quite realized he needs to take a step back in certain areas of his game. Because when asked after the game if this argument had anything to do with turnovers, this is what Draymond said. "I'm not frustrated at all. I had 1 turnover today. Had the ball the whole time I was in the game. I know how to fix problems. When there are problems, I have 1 turnover during my minutes, and I essentially ran our offense." And yes, it is correct that he only had 1 turnover during this game. He also only had 2 assists and played 18 minutes, so I don't know about running the offense, but 1 turnover in a half doesn't make up for the fact Draymond Green currently has the highest turnover rate in the entire NBA, and by a very, very big margin. And there have been games this season that the Warriors have lost because of those turnovers. Look no further than the recent loss against the Blazers, a game in which Steph Curry had 48 points, hit 12 threes, and had one of the best performances of the season.
Shot clock at 10, Curry, he checked!
can sense the Curry flurries before they count for that. He shot that from Lake Oswego and hit another three. Steph going for 11, and he got it. The ricochet, take it out to Pajemski. Curry for the lead. Got it!
And the Warriors somehow lost that game. I'm not going to say it was single-handedly down to Draymond Green. That's not fair. But there's also no excuse to have 8 turnovers. Look at one of the first plays of the game, where he gets the pass from Jimmy, he's looking for Steph for the handoff, and it's just lazy. It's just a lazy turnover. Or look at this play where he gets the ball off the cling and miss. And I'm sorry, but you're not Steph Curry, you're not LeBron James, you can't be that casual with the ball. Don't get me wrong, Draymond is one of the best passing forwards ever, but the lazy one-handed pass in transition, it's just easy for Sharp to pick it off. Or this time he gets the ball from Jimmy moving down the floor. And yes, Quinton Post should be more alert, but it's also a terrible pass. And then Draymond gets furious, but that is as much Draymond's fault, if not more, than Quinton with such an awful pass. Those were just a few examples of the 8 turnovers he had in that game, followed by 5 turnovers in the next game against Phoenix, both games that they narrowly lost because of the turnovers they gave up. So when Draymond Green is asked about turnovers, take some accountability. And like I've said, this is not a video to hate on Draymond. If you've watched any of my videos, you should know that I think of Draymond Green as highly as almost anyone and the impact he has had on this team. But that's also why you have to hold him to those standards. Because right now, he is hurting this team in more ways than just one. And in fairness to Draymond, there were quite a few turnovers from that game against Portland that weren't all his fault. Like watch this play where it looks like they're running the pin down for Steph. Moses slips the screen, and it's not a perfect pass from Draymond, but Moses should be catching that, and instead, it's a turnover for Dray. Or this time where he's looking for Post to pop out to the three-point line, and he kind of just floats to the wrong spot on the floor, and you can see Quinton take accountability. But you don't end up with the highest turnover rate in the NBA if you're not making bad passes and lazy passes consistently. And for Draymond Green, he's not been at his absolute best defensively. He has been lazy with the ball, he has been inefficient, and you can't afford to be getting ejected and getting into arguments with your head coach when your team is struggling to even reach 500. Draymond Green needs to lock in and be better, otherwise I think we could be looking at something that none of us really want to happen. Now, on a more positive note, if you want to hear about someone who definitely hasn't regressed, click on this video. Hope you have a great day. Bye.